Yes, everybody, Congress is beginning negotiations on automatic stimulus checks for everyone in the country that is in need of more stimulus payments. This stimulus check will be sent out this year to many eligible Americans, and in this video, I'll be telling you exactly when the payment dates are going to happen. Now remember, the whole goal of this channel, everybody, is to provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check news. I always want to do my very best in providing you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check information. So it really means a lot to me if you could subscribe to my channel. Next month in February, federal lawmakers are discussing automatic stimulus payments. That's next month, everybody, in February. State governments are already beginning to implement the concept, and some residents can expect to receive a check this week of January 9th and 10th. So this is really awesome. We are finally seeing some lawmakers take real action for the American people. The crisis, like I said in my previous videos, is only getting worse, especially over these past few months. So it is completely necessary that more relief money goes to as many people as possible. Now, automatic stabilizers actually seek to send funds directly to Americans when certain economic conditions are met. That's without needing approval by local legislators or the lawmakers in Congress. Now, Adam Rubin, director of the Economic Security Project, has already begun discussions on the idea of these automatic stimulus checks with members of Congress, everybody. The good part about putting in place these kind of programs is that it would definitely smooth out the United States economy, as well as its recovery. It would make sure, everybody, that no one is left at the mercy of Washington gridlock in future recession. We all know that Democrats and Republicans do take quite a while to actually come up to an agreement on any bill. So with automatic stabilizers, checks would go out all through the crisis without the need of another negotiation among lawmakers in Congress. And there are other programs as well that are currently being debated on. These programs provide eligible Americans with guaranteed monthly stimulus checks. There's actually, folks, a large amount of states and cities that have agreed to implement universal basic income programs, and that's really great. One city, for example, is in New Jersey, in the city of New York. The city has recently expanded its universal basic income program to more residents. That means stimulus checks in the state of New Jersey are being approved. It has already been approved for a total of $12,000. That's to each resident through the program over the next 2 years. I strongly support providing Americans with more stimulus money right now, everybody. Now, the concept of a universal basic income has inspired widespread interest in recent years. Former presidential candidate Andrew Yang announced that a universal basic income program of $1,000 to citizens every month will be the keystone policy of his platform. It has actually been reported that a large amount of Americans actually do support universal basic income programs. Guaranteed income programs have also been gaining even more traction during this crisis, which took a huge toll on low-wage workers and threw millions of Americans into poverty. Now, it's really great to know. Now, it's very good to know that at least 11 direct cash universal basic income programs have gone into effect. In the city of Stockton, California, some residents are receiving stimulus checks of $1,000 per month. This basic income program, everybody, launched in 2019 and has been considered the model for other cities to follow this state stimulus check and city stimulus check payment schedule. So if you guys believe that it's a good idea for President Biden to do something about this and send out more stimulus payments, then tell me in the comments down below. It's official, everybody. Chuck Schumer is now moving forward with voting on this new stimulus bill. Huge changes are being made to the fourth stimulus package, and we can expect to receive a stimulus check next month in February, even as soon as this week, if President Biden gets to his desk in time. Now, if you are a Social Security, SSI, SSDI, RRB, and VA beneficiary, or if you just want to receive a stimulus check of $2,000, then keep on watching this video. So everyone, this is really interesting. Chuck Schumer used a rare session to make the lengthy plea of voting rights bills and urged his own party to support changing the rules in order to pass it without Republican support.
And then just on the Fed issue, Elizabeth Warren has spoken out about reports that indicate that Governor Florida made some purchases and sales and is calling for greater transparency. Is this an issue that the president is engaged on? And do you think it's time for a kind of a more serious look at what the rules are that govern the Federal Reserve's actions and of its top officials?
Well, we and the president deeply respect the independence of the Federal Reserve, and we're not going to comment on recent developments. But I can say, broadly speaking, the president believes that all government agencies and officials, including the Federal Reserve, including independent agencies, should be held to the highest ethical standards, including the avoidance of any suggestions of conflicts of interest. The Fed is obviously an independent agency, as I've stated a few times. It has its own ethics rules and requirements, including new rules issued in October to address conflicts, and so we defer to that agency about any specific follow-ups.
And just to follow up on the issue, on that issue with the Fed. So I understand it's an independent agency, but, you know, if an independent agency is, if officials at an independent agency are not following the rules to the letter, or if those rules don't seem like they're covering the whole thing, is it time to take a closer look, even beyond what happened in October?
Well, again, Andrea, I think the President respects the independence of the Federal Reserve. I just noted that they have their own ethics rules and requirements. They put new rules in place in October. I'd point you to them, but the President's expectation that all government agencies and officials, including independent agencies, are held to a high standard, with high ethical standards, avoiding conflict of interest speaks for itself.
One more question on COVID.
Is saying that there's going to be 4 rate hikes this year. The Federal Reserve indicated maybe 3. If they move a quarter of a point, the Committee for Federal Responsible Federal Budget says that 3 hikes would add an additional $175 billion a year to a debt payment alone. So does this change the thinking of the White House in terms of how much spending the President wants to do as the rate hikes start to come in?
Well, first, I always like to say monetary policy is the purview of the Federal Reserve, and we respect their independence. Interest rates have been, kind of as you touched on there, at historically low levels during the pandemic. We always knew that as the economy recovered and gained strength, interest rates would rise to more historically typical levels. The President is committed, as you talk about spending, to fiscal responsibility and ensuring that our long-term investments are fully paid for. That's why he has proposed a range of ways to pay for his Build Back Better agenda, and why it's fully paid for, and would still lower the cost for Americans on prescription drugs, childcare, and many other issues. But he is somebody who is mindful about being fiscally responsible and is focused on that as he looks to his agenda moving forward.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
So, Madam President, today my thoughts, my prayers, our condolences are with everyone whose lives were ripped apart because of the awful fire in the apartments that ignited yesterday at the Twin Parks Northwest Tower in the Bronx. 17 people lost their lives in yesterday's fire, including 8 innocent children. Dozens of others were injured, many of them critically so. We pray for their recovery. Many are still in the ICU. It was the deadliest fire in New York City in the last 30 years, an unspeakable tragedy made 1,000 times worse because it happened within the confines of people's own homes.